Good afternoon to everyone. As a teacher, today I'm going to tell you some secret of concentration. See, there are indeed ways we know that the secret of success is concentration. To think that is only the yogis we knew concentration is a gross mistake. Concentration is essential for every person, whatever his vocation may be. It's in the that concentration is inherently developed in artisans like blacksmiths, barbers, carpenters, goldsmiths, and weavers. If the blacksmith misses his mark while striking with the hammer, even slightly, there is the possibility of crushing his hand. If a barber's radish slips, there is a possible danger of a cut in the skin and blood oozing out. If the carpenter does not have a good hold on his chisel, he will lose his toy. The work of a goldsmith is undoubtedly very dexterous. Weavers can produce clothes of good quality only if they can keep their eyes fixed on the loom. But none of these people practiced concentration after reading a book or listening to a lecture. The situation created by the demands of their professions has forced the cultivation of concentration in them. What could be that situation? It is the risk of a disaster occurring with the slightest error in their handworks. All of the above mentioned are on the brink of danger while they work. Hence, they have to work very attentively, restraining their minds. Thereby, they would have obtained a form of concentration related to their own occupations. Not only this, there are innumerable, innumerable examples wherein this type of concentration can be traced to have been passed down the generations. For instance, among apprentices learning smithy in ITITs, it is said that a boy from a blacksmith's family excels in the art. This applies equally to all other vocations. It is rather rarely that only possesses skill in a new craft based on the preceding observation, we come to know the fact that concentration is achieved by continuous striving. This was Lord Krishna's answer to Arjuna's question 2. Practice result is perfection. What was Arjuna's query? Krishna, the mind is very fickle. It is endlessly restless. It is powerful too. To keep it under control, it is equivalent to capturing the wind. How then can such a mind brought under control? Lord Krishna replies, what you say is true, Arjuna. It is a fact that the mind is restless. It is true that to keep it under control is no easy task. But listen to this improvement revelation. It is equally true that even such a fickle mind can be brought under control. The force of constant practice and detachment. Arjuna's question is quite natural and equally simple is Lord Krishna's answer. The problem of the mind is restiveness is not a new thing. It is as old as man himself. However, owing to the immoral and indisciplined mode of life is prevalent today, it might have increased by a certain degree. In fact, Arjuna was a man of courageous and righteousness. If such a man mind could be erratic, what to speak of the unsteady steadiness of mind of today's pleasure seeking and indulgent humanity? Those who are bent upon bringing the mind under control must, first and foremost, clearly understand the nature of the mind they wish to fight with. The mind is as restless as a monkey and as strong as an intoxicated elephant. Controlling it, as said by Arjuna, it like trapping the wind. In regulating the mind, one needs to the skill that is necessary is in catching monkeys and training elephants. When Arjuna complained that controlling the mind was very difficult, Lord Krishna did not make light of it and say, for one like you, who has subdued the most heroic warriors, of what difficulties is the task of mastering the mind, which is, after all, your own. You must be able to handle it as you like. But instead, understanding the gravity of the problem, he says sympathetically, what you say is true, Ajram, that the mind is very fickle and that regulating it is very tough are both true. The reason for Lord Krishna saying thus that he knew the nature of the mind. Every animal and thing on the earth has distinct disposition. To blow is nature of the wind, to burn in the nature of the fire, to flow in the nature of water. Likewise, to poke its nose everywhere, to jump about madly, to desire whimsically, to think about a thousand things, to fret over a host of worries, to build castles in the air, to bother about every other work that than the one assigned in the nature of the mind, with surroundings tending to provoke the mind, which is by nature restless, which can one do other than dancing to its true. Those who wish to control their minds should keep away from distracting environment. This does not mean that what we have to leave the city, but only mind should not be allowed to mingle with the surroundings. How is this done? Here the role of five sense organs comes into picture. Ear, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin. They are the vehicles of the mind. No sooner do the eyes spot something beautiful than the mind leaps straight into it. Thus, the senses keep pulling the mind in all directions. Hence, it is required to keep the sense under control by applying the intellect. This applies not seeing what should not be seen, not hearing what should not be heard, the word, not eating what should not be eaten, not doing what should not be done. Doing this called Dhamma in Sanskrit. The mind can flow wherever it likes, independently also, without the help of the sense organs. In such cases, the mind should be brought back with the application of intelligence. This direct method of keeping the mind poised is called Shama. After coming to know so many details about mind and its concentration, some may ask, after all, what is the need to keep the mind under control? The correct answer to this must be known. The answer is just this. If one's, one's mind is under one's own control, great goals can be achieved through it, while if it is not, it becomes nigh impossible to do even the most ordinary things. Truly, the mind is endowed with a tremendous demoniacal strength. Yet, many seem to be weak minded all times or all through their lives. The reason being that their mental energies have been dissipated indiscriminately. Not all are aware that the sun's rays have the power to ignite fire. Why don't they know? The reason is they would not have seen the sun rays creating fire and burning down things. But when the same rays are passed through, it will be continued. Watch the second one.